What turn the musical?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey guys, is it time? I feel like
Yeah.
we should start.
One,
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm Dr. Hadaway. This is Dr. Minima. I'm from the Department of Biological and Environmental Sciences. He's from the Department of History, the AAA Department of History, sticking alphabetically first.
Yes.
Our trip is May 4 to 20. That's probably the most important thing that's not readily communicated prior to this. So May 4th to the 20th, that timing puts you back in country here in the United States in time for summer internships and things. Most of the big schools aren't even out of finals week by that time. So most summer programs don't fully start until that last week of May or even first week of June. So that timing works out really well for anyone with other summer plans. We try to sneak it in there. We end up getting athletes because they have to come back for summer workouts and things of this nature. But Samford on the Camino. Broadly, I assume some of you have heard about the program. Yes, or just saw it on a list and threw a dart. No, you sort of know. You want to go top to bottom?
Let's go top to bottom.
Okay, you want to talk?
Yeah, I'll start. Okay, so one of two things can happen here. If you study with Dr. Hadaway, you can get natural science credit. I don't know what your majors are, but I imagine that most of you need one, if not two of these kind of courses. And so that is to replace probably biology 101.
You can do biology 105 or physical geography or astronomy or what we always call physics for poets, things of this nature. So you can, instead of doing that the whole semester, we can get it done in Spain.
Yep.
And if you're with Dr. Benema, you can get your general education humanities credit out of the way, which would be covered by
About History 200, this would be a world history course that we're just kind of using Spain as our jumping off point. And so we kind of look at the different ways in which the trail has changed because of world history. From really antiquity to present, looking at everything from kind of classical, so we're talking Greek and Roman, up to fascism in Spain in the 20th century and how globalism, I mean, when we go on trail, you'll see people from all over the world. It's kind of crazy. You might even see a picture on here in a minute, where one of the newest, kind of biggest groups to break out into this is, Chinese, Japanese, Korean tourists. And so you'll see Korean, Japanese, and Korean cup of noodles advertised on some of these bodegas that we go past. Now, there's also upper division credit. So if you are a biology major, if you're a history major with me, there are ways to get 300, 400 level credit through our departments here, if that's what you need. Nuts and bolts, we take off, I think, on the 4th.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't do well with time zones. So we start on the 4th in the United States. I don't know what day that means. I end up in
Right.
Spain, but I'm not happy about it because long flights.
Right. And so we touch down in Madrid. We stay in Madrid for a couple of days to really kind of burn off jet lag and at the same time to orientate you to the program in general. It's just a nice space to be in Madrid. We're going to get a nice big hotel that we were at last time. It's kind of conducive to that. We all kind of sit on couches and start the course. Kind of give you a sense of what's expected assignment wise. And then about 2.5 days in.
Well, while we're there,
Yeah.
biology people will go and visit the major metropolitan parks. We'll be able to see one of the national parks sort of off in the distance. What's interesting is Spain had no national parks until the 80s and the 1980s,
Yeah.
and really the 90s, and they have like 6 now, or maybe it's 8 at this point. But no land has been untouched in most of Central Europe, and so the way they deal with national parks, as opposed to what you think of as national parks, you think of national parks as wild areas. They have no wild areas, and so it's a lot different. So we'll do some of that. Dr. Benema will visit the first of many churches. We will visit the sort of metropolitan. This is Spanish capital, so we'll go by the Senate, I suppose, of their sort of legislative body. We will spend time in the Prado, which is one of, I don't know, top 5 to 10 art museums in the country, I mean, in the world.
We get in there for free because we go in there in the afternoon.
You can see lots of Spanish art, it's all dark and all religious, Spanish are sort of famous.
Dark and
for this.
religious.
And so then we will leave one morning and go out to the start of where we will get on the Camino in Sarria, which is approximately 70 miles from Santiago de Compostela. This is the sort of threshold that the church gives. You have to do at least 100 kilometers to say you hiked the Camino. We will be on the French way. So if anybody's been talking to parents or anybody else, we will be on the French way, which is the traditionally most hiked version of this that leads from France. That's the French way, and it's probably 300 to 400 miles. We'll do the last 70 of it, going from small town to small town throughout the way.
And once we get to Santiago, we will participate in the whole 9 yards there, where we will participate in the Pilgrim Mass. They do these multiple times a day, where there's so many people coming through here and participating in this, that they have a mass for the pilgrims, in which we receive that blessing. We are able to also go and pick up a certificate that indicates that you have completed pilgrimage. You have your options of having it in Spanish or Latin, or both. If you want to fork out the extra, I think €8. But anyways, we are of course teaching all along the way, on trail, in coffee shops, in the hostels / bed and breakfasts that we stay in. When we get to Santiago, we slow down a little bit. We're going to be arriving in that area. It's a kind of state within Spain. If you've ever heard of Barcelona and Catalonia as a kind of somewhat different region of Spain, and that they have a different language, they see themselves a little bit differently from the rest of Spain. Galicia is similar to that, in that they have a different dialect. You'll see signs in Spanish and something vaguely Spanish. They use a lot more X's than the Spanish do. But because it's its own thing, we will arrive on essentially a national holiday for the Galician people, where it's going to be a music, literature, and arts festival, which is going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the kind of whiplash that you'll experience having gone to Pilgrim Mass and then to go to a European festival where they're playing folk music and EDM,
It's
sometimes at the same time, it's disorienting.
So like we go to Pilgrim Mass in a Catholic church, it's all in Spanish. And so which is a little disorienting for people who are either not Catholic or not Spanish, which is
Almost all
the
of it.
majority, of us. And so that's a little strange. And then underneath sort of, I don't know, in the nave, you sort of go into the catacombs and you see the silver casket that holds St. James's remains, which is kind of awesome. But then for the festival, they like run power literally out of the back of the cathedral. Like, it's not like, oh, it's a couple, it's behind it. No, it is behind the cathedral, like touching.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And the square that the cathedral's on has all sorts of like bizarre interest, and we'll do a pretty big major tour through the city, guided tour through the city, which is really great. But you'll notice a lot of the pictures that people took, like these aren't our pictures necessarily. This is all the students, we all like piled them all into one big photo circle. Making fun of us doing yoga was a highlight, but most of the pictures you'll notice they took are of like food and scenery. The food was fantastic. And the scenery, it's not, I think, desert Spain, like the dry red, orange sort of, I don't know. That's the colors I think of when I think of Spain, I guess. And we get here and it looks like East Tennessee, essentially. The like national dish is collard green soup, which I was like, these are my people. So it's a really different part. You'll see lots of octopus mentioned because this is the coastal region, so there's lots of seafood in the area as well. But yeah, you'll carry your belongings. So if you do, like Lila, go to Zara and bring back 2 giant bags of clothes on the first day. You're gonna shove all that in your bag and carry it for 70 miles, which she did. She looked fabulous for the entire trip. She had this like linen jumpsuit thing she bought. And I was like, I would not backpack in that, but
This was 2 years ago, so linen jumpsuits were just a thing.
yeah, and she loved it.
Oh yeah. So let's see. After a couple of days in Santiago, we take the train back to Madrid. We have about a day where we just kind of decompress, talk about, it's more of a reflective moment.
Yeah.
After that, you're on a plane back home, and we'll be grading everything. Yeah.
Other things, washing clothes. Yes, we wash clothes on trail. But look, I essentially wore this
I did not wear this, but,
Yeah, you're much fancier than me. Just, and so, yeah, some of the washing clothes, like some people wouldn't found a laundromat, but a bunch of us just used like Ziploc bags. Brought some soap and washed it in Ziploc bags and hung it up on the neighbor's line. The places we stay, some of them are sort of smallish cities. And then in one or two places, it was this house. And so the people who run this sort of hostel's a not nice way to say this. When I think of hostels, I think of like scary places that like I wouldn't stay in anymore because I'm old. But the hostels we stay in, most of the people who hike the trail are closer to my parents' age than they are to even my age. And so the places they're willing to stay are a little bit higher class than the word hostel suggests. So most of the hostels you stay in have their own bedding, like all of these things are included. And so some of these places, like it's a family that runs this hostel, and it's just 2 or 3 houses that were like grandparents' house and uncle's house through the years, and now they've turned them into this, which is a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, borrowing the neighbor's clothesline, and the neighbor's trampoline, like if you run into the girls who went on the trip last time, they're like, we played on a trampoline in the afternoon, like we washed our clothes and played on the trampoline. I was like, sure, you knock yourself out, like do your readings. But yeah, there's not a lot of formal, you need to go sit down and write a paper. There's not a lot of formal, you need to go read for 3 hours kinds of things happening. Lots of mini lectures. Yeah, logistics.
So, our provider, I remember when we first started talking with them, like, I think we're gonna have about 20 students. And can you handle that? And I said, well, last year we had 600 people from Texas A&M do this, so I think we can handle your little 20. Okay, and so they've done this. They will give a whole drop list of what to pack, how much to pack, what to expect when you're on trip. All of this stuff is also readily available on YouTube. People who do this, and they usually do the full 400 miles. We are only doing a subset of that. We're only doing 70 miles. So whatever you Google and look for, understand that we are doing the budget diet form of that.
Yeah, as far as the length. So
Yeah.
some of these people are like, cut your toothbrush in half, and because the handle's just extra weight, but like that's not us.
No.
Okay, like we're not hiking 20 miles a day. We'll do somewhere between 4 and 8 most days. In the last couple of days, we're a little bit longer, but everybody seemed to do okay. The main thing to worry about is shoes. Like if you don't already have the shoes you're gonna wear, don't buy new ones kind of thing is what we're gonna say once we start having real meetings about this. Because somebody bought new shoes that were a size too small the day before we left. And that's no way to hike 70 miles. So by the last day, she wasn't wearing shoes. But this is all like, when we start planning, we'll put together a couch to Camino fitness plan for you. Essentially, you're gonna have to walk in the spring. Like you can't just live your current life, be like, I get 10,000 steps a day. 10,000 steps a day is not walking 5 miles. That's like walk class, the dad, like it's not the same. So we'll do some like preppy kind of stuff. Typically the trail looks a lot like the Greenway, like it's not paved, but rolling hills. Don't think arduous climbing to the top floor of EBH kind of hills.
Even if you were to do Red Mountain or Ruffner, it's probably a little bit more aggro than that.
Yeah, it's way less. I mean, it's way.
Yeah.
As somebody who hikes a fair amount, yeah. Lots of pretty animals. The weather was cool. Like we took puffy jackets and wore them in the morning some days. And then in the afternoon, you'd be like short sleeves. So it's just sort of, it's real similar to here and slightly cold. Right, like we're not gonna be getting snow in May, but we will get 67.
Yeah, if you look at it from a geographical, it's at the same latitude as Boston. And so if you can imagine Boston in May, you're about there. So when it's getting warmer here, it's super pleasant. Now, there is the threat of rain because we are up against the coast there, but we did not encounter that, but.
Got like 15 minutes rain one day.
Right.
So it wasn't bad, but we have to plan for rain, really to like raincoat, whatever, however we want. And once we get closer, we can talk about it. I will say, I think every student enjoyed it thoroughly. And if you want emails or names of people to talk to about the last trip, so you can get honest opinions that aren't ours, that were just like, oh, this is great.
Yeah,
and they'll tell you, but yeah, I think every one of them, some of them asked if they could go a second time or TA for the class kind of thing. So
there will be a native fixer there that every study abroad that you're going to be doing, what they usually have a person who is native to the country, who is essentially making sure they're paving the way for us. They're gonna make sure that there's a restaurant. They're gonna make sure, any sort of question of dietary restrictions, she's our person that'll be able to look people in the eye like there's no this, that, and the next thing there is there. And so.
Or if someone has to go to the doctor, like, heaven forbid you get sick and need medicine, she'll go with you to the doctor, or she and one of us will go with you to the doctor. Otherwise, we're left with one person. Like, I forgot to take my everyday medication on the plane with me when I went to Spain. And I was like, I'll be fine without it, and it's antidepressant medication, so everyone I knew was like, no, you won't. And so Ro took me to the pharmacy and got me my medicine.
Right.
And I was like, thanks, Ro, and she was great. Now, she was an alpinist, like she's the first person to ever descend like these 14ers in Spain on skis and like climb Mount Everest, like she's intense. Like she would run the trail while we were walking, like she'd run up there and back while we were just trying to get
She
there.
was training to take breast cancer survivors into Patagonia and
To hike the glaciers. Yeah.
So like she was regularly checking in on them like, oh, so-and-so needs to, like, she hasn't checked in on Strava. She needs to like
increase her walks.
Right, and increase weight. And so like she's, yeah.
So she was great, but yeah, this is the
requested her again?
cathedral, reliquaries and things like this. You will have a chance to experience the church, Big C Church, in a way you likely have not. Like most of our students really had to come to grips with, right, the lives of the saints after the Gospels. Like, is this really Saint James? Like, what did they do? Like, where did the Coptic church come from? Like, what is Catholicism? Like all these sorts of ideas that, I don't know, I grew up in sort of a big gymnasium looking church, and we didn't do a whole lot of church history.
If your church is a air-conditioned airplane hangar, this is gonna be different.
Yeah, and so it was real weird, like it was real strange for me. Like I'm Episcopalian and now I'm like, we do more sort of, liturgical churchy kind of things, but even for me, I was like, this is intense. And so it's really interesting and really funny, culturally, religiously, extremely formative. Like, learned a lot. You have questions? I feel like-
Yeah, we've been talking straight for 20 minutes. Yes, sir, your name.
I'm Joseph Kelly. So it will start in France, right?
No,
okay,
we
so
will
the
start
French
Madrid, yeah.
Okay, from Madrid, okay.
There are about 5 classic ways, Caminos. When you're talking about the Camino, you are talking about the French way. This is the
Yes.
most established one that's been around for what we think is anywhere between 800 and 1200. But there are other ones. Of course, Spain has its own, so there's walking trails from all of the major cities down south. Portugal even has its own one. And they
Great
even
Britain
have-
says there's one now.
Right, there's one that
Great Britain.
lands like on the coast, like British and French.
You take a
pilgrims.
boat from Ireland and then you walk the rest of the way, and like,
Yeah.
it's a tourism sort of draw now, and so there's more ways.
The state has gotten involved in a big way. So like in the same way that our national park system was a government federal thing, in the 90s, the Spanish government like, we're leaving money on the table here if we don't build this up, market it, actually get money to people who are doing this and jack it up. And boy, I mean, to the point where now other countries like Italy are, and we even talk about this, like Scandinavia is coming up with their own completely made up religious pilgrimage to get that kind of dollars. But
So,
I sense that there was more questions.
well, just if you look at France and Spain and you're like, oh, this is the French way, like
Yes,
zoom in and then you'll have Madrid and Santiago. Then zoom in a whole lot more, you'll have Sarria to Santiago, which is like on a map, it's like, it's 70 miles, so it's
yeah,
not even to Montgomery.
yeah.
Right, like it's real close.
But in Europe though, that's a long way, so.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for
And
sure.
it's rolling hills, so I mean, there isn't like a
Yeah, sure.
65 that's gonna blow right
As
through.
far as safety and things of that nature, this is a well-worn path with lots of people hiking this thing. Like, we'll go days without like hiking next to people, but you'll also some days see more people, especially as you get closer to Santiago and all these ways start coming together. They see, what is it, 1,000 people a day come into Santiago from different directions or more.
Yep.
Depending on if it's a year that St. James's Day falls on a Sunday, you get extra credit
So every
with the
second
Catholic
year.
Church.
That's more than you need to know. Yes,
So it's from May 4th to
May 20.
May 20th?
and that is like right when Auburn, Alabama wrapped up. So don't feel like it's one or the other, not both. If you've got job stuff lined up, internship lined up. These May terms are specifically built for that. Other folks, questions? Your name again was?
No.
Bella. What's your major? Business. Okay.
Yeah, I was hoping to do like some biology stuff.
Yeah,
because-
so there'll be plenty, like,
Oh my God.
there we are taking a picture of a little Daniel tiger, because you had to take pictures of Daniel tiger everywhere for his kids. But those are Roman ruins, and so we go there, we talk about the Romans' impacts in society and things from his side, but then we talk about the Roman impacts on the biology and things of this nature. So what's interesting about it is that all the biology gets right, but Menon was talking about cool stuff, and we want to go hear what he's saying, and so we ended up combining classes for certain places we got, because I didn't want to miss out on what he was lecturing on either.
Yeah, you'll notice that we are constantly together here, and that is, I mean, that's just part of it.
Yeah.
Even though they are separate classes, there is no way for us to be separate in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you have to attend both lectures by any stretch of the imagination, but there are times where it does lend itself, like, we're just gonna talk together here. Other folks,
I'm sad. What is like the rough cost?
this is where we kick to
Our
our friend
rule of
Jen.
thumb that we are told we are supposed to say is that typically May term study abroad courses cost right around $5,000.
Now, because we are staying in,
Rural, depressed European economy,
right,
and then Spain still is cheaper than most of Europe.
your transportation is your feet. We are eating essentially communal meals. And we're staying at these, they call them hostels, but again, like, it's the best hostel you'll ever be in. Cost is, we are bringing the average down from that
Would you-
5,000.
Would you agree with that? Do you think?
Yes, this is one of the more cost-effective ones, but you can see the exact costs on the website.
Oh, you can?
Yep.
Why
We
did?
don't need to guess anymore. Shoot, uh-oh. We put together a budget, but that was, months ago and stuff happens. But I know that that's, and of course, there are scholarships available, both
Yeah.
big and little.
So we have two out of our office that are pretty much open for anyone, and there's one that's open only for arts majors or anyone in the School of Arts, so music. Those three are all administered by our office. One, you have to be a first-time international traveler. The one you have to be have a FAFSA on file for the Heron. And all three of those applications open the same time the applications for the programs open, which is October 18th. But the scholarship apps are due in a little earlier. So that way we can tell you if you have a scholarship or not when we accept you onto the program. So do look for the dates that those are due.
Wasn't there a social media kind of thing that students were doing as well, or was that?
Yeah, so you can be on our content creation team. That doesn't have a monetary award, but the content creation team is a great opportunity because you really are just gonna get some benefit for doing what you're gonna want to do anyway, which is take lots of photos and write about this. The content creation people will get a certificate, which will link on your LinkedIn account, which looks really good that you participated. You get a bag of swag of study abroad stuff, t-shirts and things. So it's definitely worth doing, and we'll talk more about it when you get accepted.
I will say for the five of you, there is nothing more important than working with the Samford Broad office and their various student workers and full-time staff who work in that office. They are fantastic at answering questions. They have really good help. So if there's stuff that's, how do I do it? When do I do it? Place my plane ticket? Can I use my miles to get my plane ticket? These are questions that they answer every day. Do not hesitate. Not only is this Lackey a lovely study abroad person, she knits, she spins her own yarn, her husband works on campus and is also lovely.
That
Like,
sheet picture that keeps going by.
I know, it's like, no, get my hands on those things. Yeah, so they're super approachable, so don't be afraid. But yeah, May 4 to 20. Plenty of options for credit. And every student on campus needs one of the things we're teaching, if you haven't taken it already. So upper level of biology would be environmental science.
Okay.
But yeah, so we've got backpacks, so you'll need backpacks, you'll need shoes. You don't carry tent, you don't carry food any more than your snacks that you pick up along the way. For me, it was a lot of ham and bread, because ham and bread in Europe is better.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
so I'd say the majority of meals are rolled into this.
Mhm.
I think when we're in Madrid, we're in Santiago, that's a little bit different, so I mean,
I think we gave you a couple dinners you could go out on your own just because you want to,
yeah.
but on trail, there's no, in some places, there's not an option. Right, we're in this person's house, so we're eating their food kind of thing. But yeah, so that's part of the cost that's included here, which when you start comparing trips and things and opportunities. Account for your spending money is for like
Yep.
coffee and gelato. Is sort of where your big, and Zara, are your three sort of big expenses.
Yeah, and so hidden costs would be that pack, if you don't already have one. These can be gotten secondhand,
Yeah,
if you don't already have that.
and borrowed, lots of people borrowed, and
Yep.
or got the, REI sells used gear. So you can get them there, you can even check them out at UAB if you wanted to, their outdoor club has a, gear
Shoes.
exchange.
Shoes are the other thing.
Most people wear tennis shoes, not new tennis shoes, like
Yeah, don't go nuts.
Yeah, like don't buy new shoes.
Unless
3
you
weeks
intend to
before.
make this a lifestyle, like, don't
Oh, yeah.
get Moab shoes.
I'll
Like,
spend a bunch of money.
no.
There's no
If
reason
you
to.
do, if you don't already hike and have them, there's no need to. But then after that, you know. We are I mean, if you do the math on, like, if we're hiking 5 to 8 miles a day. And if it's a 20-mile clip, which is essentially you walking across campus,
Yeah,
not hurried.
yeah, no,
It's
it's a stroll through the.
then we are done by in around 3 hours. So it's incumbent upon us to stop, hit the thither and yon. And so like we typically do this at these kind of coffee shops, there are plenty.
Yeah.
Again, like I talked about, there's a lot of infrastructure built up here because there's hundreds of thousands of people doing this a year. So that is a little bit of a hidden cost that students, we wanted to make them aware of that, you know, you're getting world-class European coffee, world-class European baked goods, and you probably don't want to miss out on that. So I would say budget that as well. And so some people were like, yeah, I'm gonna do that twice a day. It's their choice. But you know, if you did it every other day, like
Yeah,
Hadaway and I were, just buying baguette,
yeah,
slam some ham
just
in
buy a
there.
block of cheese and a hunk of bread and keep it in my bag and eat that as I went, because. That's how I'm used to traveling, so, but yeah, there, look, call a taxi, there's the serpent tempting
Tempting you.
people, like the graffiti is hilarious along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we
made
made sandwiches one night, right, yeah.
Okay, what are the questions your mom wants to know?
Yeah, that's my thing. The safety thing is what several parents asked, and so that's a big one. We don't spend much time in a major metropolitan city.
Yeah.
That's where the risk is. Like, what's scarier, downtown Birmingham, or like, you know. Like, I don't know, Shelby County, like you're gonna have less trouble in Red Mountain Park than you will in 5 Points. And so we're more in that than we are in this kind of situation. So that's one part. Also, you're never out, like, we see you all day, every day. Like, you're not like, hey, go to the other side of Madrid and do a scavenger hunt. It's not.
The most tense moment was when I lost a student who was trying to complete an assignment for this guy, who he just fell backwards into,
He's now a birder. He wasn't a birder when we got there, but he got super into
it
it.
was just,
And I walked in the back of the group and let Minima walk in the front of the group, but we decided we were gonna change one day, and Minima
I blew it.
apparently is not great at being in the back of the group, because he just totally ditched a kid and didn't realize it. And it took about 5 minutes for the kid to catch up, but you were like,
But other than that, like, that was when he was,
and we were in
Out of
like a
sight.
cow pasture, it's not like he was at any real risk.
right, yeah, and it's very well marked, so I don't know how he would have made a wrong turn.
No, he just stopped for too
Yeah.
long. Oh, this thing, so in the church, they have this like 2 meter incense burner that like shoots flames out the side. They swing it at like 70 miles an hour across the front of the church.
Gets home,
Yeah, you should look at the some churches.
but up there, so yeah, that's how they.
Oh, there's St. James. Oh, I just lost it. Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir,
If I'm studying bio, can I still see some of the cathedrals?
of course, yeah.
You're going everywhere.
Great,
Like everything I do, he does. Everything he does, I do.
fantastic.
And so we'll separate for like,
Right.
bring our classes out for discussions and things. And like discuss papers or primary literature or whatever. But then for anything
Macro.
significant, right? Like when we stop, it'll be like, before we get to the next thing, let's have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you might see at one point, like, there was a. Just carved into the side of this, little church.
Yeah.
It was clearly Daniel and the Lions down, and I took my little dial Daniel and put it next to it.
Yeah, you have to put,
It's just kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, There's no separation.
I would not have any problem taking my 95-year-old grandmother or my 10-year-old daughter and letting them get a mile ahead or a mile behind me as far as the safety stuff goes. But I like my daughter. I didn't use my son as an example. So,
Others. It's a ton of fun and,
oh, there's the linen jumpsuit.
yeah.
But yeah, like Giant Concert is right behind that church. Like those are connected to each other. There's a like Ferris wheel, like there's a whole thing in the park. We keep journals of things as the days goes on, there'll be sort of reflective pieces you have to do.
Everybody gets a right in the rain journal.
Oh, yeah, and a sticker. There's swag. And maybe shirts. People are still asking for shirts. We make.
What else do we need to talk about?
I think that's probably everything. I don't want to keep you longer than you have to be here.
Yeah,
Really, the major thing I have to emphasize is sign up early. Based on like the Samford Outdoor Adventure Club having a gajillion members now, and lots of them talk about wanting to go to this hike with us. Plus you guys being here, plus the people we talked to at Parents Weekend.
oh, yeah.
Plus then we've got another 4 or 5 people that have emailed us, sign up when it opens.
When does it open?
It'll open October 18th and it's at 7 AM, just to make sure that
Okay.
people who have class at 8 can still be there. on
Because it
time.
gets timestamped with who signed up when. There's potential to move from 20, so the minimum is 20 and the maximum is questionable with 2 faculty members, but if we have to go above the maximum, we take up a 3rd faculty member, we might be able to do that. We'll just have to work with the provider to make sure that we can house certain people along the way. No way. There's a movie, you should watch it with your parents, get excited. It's not Dustin Hoffman,
It is Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen, there you go. It's like super big budget Hollywood movie. But yeah, it's shot on the Camino, so you can sort of see some of this things. Okay, anything we forgot? Ms.
Nope.
Lang?
Sounds good.
Okay, well, yeah, if you have questions, let me give you postcardy things in your hands, because it has our email addresses on it. Some of you know where we are, but some of you do not. So I'm gonna give you these things.
Well, and student email me like, oh, sorry, I couldn't make this.
Yeah,